So guys, we're not too far away then from getting our first insight into F1 25 My Team and Driver Career Mode. Tomorrow, the first deep dive is dropping for F1 25. But in the meantime, there is a way to get your very own preview of F1 25 in the F1 24 game. Because just as they did in previous years, if you go to F1 World, you've pre-ordered the iconic edition of F1 25, they have actually put in an F1 25 preview in time trial. Clicking into it, this is what you get. Official F1 teams 2025 liveries, and it's on the 2025 FOM chassis car. Now, why is that important? Well, unlike last game, F1 24, we didn't really care too much about the FOM chassis because all of us, well, most of us were playing driver career mode. That was the career mode that was changing drastically. But this year, as we know, my team is finally getting a big revamp. Its first big revamp since it first came in on F1 2020. And so once again, we'll all be getting familiar and driving and seeing the T-Cam view, very specifically, of this chassis, this car, very often. So let's dive into it. I'm going to choose the V car just because it's an absolutely gorgeous livery, isn't it, in 2025? And let's actually just look at the car in detail. Forget the livery for a second. Let's just look at all the details of the new 2025 car we're going to be driving in my team. This is basically an early kind of insight into the My Team car. All right, we're in photo mode. Let's have a look at this bad boy. So first of all, straight off the bat, you'll notice at the front here, we've got a completely new front nose to wing section. Now we've got one more element over. So before an F1 24, the generic FOM chassis, the nose would connect at the bottom plane of the front wing. We've now got this secondary plane connected, kind of going in tandem with the kind of, you know, general trend we've been seeing with a lot of the F1 teams. The nose looks slightly more rounded and with a little bit more width to it compared to F1 24, which I like because I think I feel like a generic F1 car for 2025, if you really had to make one, would look kind of like the front end, at least, would kind of look like a Ferrari or a Williams because there's so many teams opting for that chunkier sort of nose. Even Red Bull have opted for that kind of chunkier thumb sort of shaped nose. We've got the front wing. Finally, the front wing flaps have slightly changed. It's now no longer all just one swooping element. There's actually a little bit of technicality going on with the disconnected two little points there on either side. You can basically see a small little sticky uppy bit, as the F1 TV analysis would love to say, to split these two elements of the front wing and then connect into the end plate. End plate staying pretty similar, I would say. Moving on from the front of the car, now going more towards the rear hand side, and this is a big noticeable change here, is finally we've got an aggressive and way more realistic looking side pod for this car. You can see the clear, distinctive shape, very a la Red Bull, kind of Ferrari from last year in a way. Obviously, Ferrari have kind of gone away from that undercut bite on the leading edge of the side pod. They've kind of gone more towards what McLaren have, where it's more of a circular inlet and then they have that winglet over the top. That kind of almost does the same thing as this underbite, but in a two-pronged way to try and work the air even more. But just finally fantastic to see actually the aggressive undercut on the FOM car. That was another key thing that always annoyed me with the FOM cars. The side pods were never as aggressive as IRL teams were doing. The same thing also with, it's an evolution of the gullies on the inside, on the top face of the side pod. You can really see that actually with the shadow work here on the V-carb livery. Really deep channeled gullies, and then we've also got the two shotgun elements on the top of the engine cover, also equally having its own little dip there on the gully, channeling the airflow there, but just in tandem with the side pod. Finally, this now looks like, oh yeah, that's just your bog standard current generation of F1 cars. It never really looked like it in F1 23, 24, even to an extent, really still looked a bit bare bones. I feel like now, finally, this is looking properly aggressive enough to be like, okay, cool. This actually look like, with the right livery, this would look cold. I mean, to be fair, the V-carb, obviously, good case in point, this is a lovely livery, and this livery works really well on this generic shape. Like, you know, if you just looked at it, you know, in passing, you'd think, oh, that is actually the V-carb, because it's actually so similar and very good looking compared to the actual V-carb shape. Which, again, is actually really nice anyway as well. So, just works really well. And then one final big thing, in terms of big changes, is the rear wing. Now, I know a lot of people have been annoyed about this as well, is the rear wing has been this very plain Jane, you know, connected plane. And we've never had this disconnected bit of the top element flap and the rear flap in terms of this sticking out bit, the trailing edge of the rear wing, that you'll kind of get those tip vortices going on. So finally, the rear wing has been updated to look a lot more like a lot of the rear wings we're seeing now, where they actually have that element coming out. It's not just all one connected area with the curved bits on the edge. So with that, the engine cover, the side pods, the front change, I am very happy with actually this year's upcoming FOM car. Like, I'll be happily, you know, putting liveries on this for my team career mode. Like, the only thing for me in foible would be just a little bit more extra detail on things. Like, I would love to see like an element on the halo, for example, just to add a little bit of extra detail there. Maybe some, you know, kind of sticky uppy wings on either side of the driver's side, like we see with the Ferrari and the McLaren, and also slightly more aggressive, potentially bargeboard areas with the kind of floor and the strakes that they've got going on, and maybe just the detailing on the floor, because it's very simplistic, you know, just a few little slot gaps in there. But apart from that, I think actually genuinely this is one of the better FOM cars they've finally made for the F1 game. Like, if we really, you know, compare this to the absolute eyesore that we had in F1 22, my God, that was an ugly duckling of a My Team car. Compared to that, this is an absolute beauty. So yeah, there's going to be some absolutely amazing mod liveries made for My Team career mode, and I'm hoping, obviously, remember, as I alluded to in the details you might have missed video last week, obviously I hope that there'll just be some good native liveries made for this car shape on console as well, because we know that it seems to be all but confirmed there is going to be a much better livery editor with movable decals, changeable number colors and fonts maybe, and the sizing of the decals and everywhere, as we discussed in that missing details video. So on this chassis, that's going to be a very welcome thing for sure. I'm just trying to look anything else that I've maybe missed here. I don't think is the steering wheel slightly different? You guys are going to have to maybe tell me in the comments below, because for the life of me, I can't quite tell. It may be slightly different, but I think it's very similar, especially with the shape at the top. I really wish they would change that up a little bit as well, actually, you know, and just maybe make a bit more of a chiseled steering wheel, because it's very blocky compared to IRL steering wheels we've got. Apart from that, I think we've covered everything in terms of really big noticeable changes to things on this FOM car compared to F1 24. Just going to swap through some liveries then. So obviously all 10 teams are available. So let's go to the McLaren then and see that new, slightly more MasterCard heavy livery from McLaren, with the black on the halo, but the orange line and the blue, although I don't know what this camera angle is. I'm having to change it for everything. Oh, that's a lot better. That's a lot better. So the blue, I think actually works really well on the McLaren this year. Obviously, from the outside, this McLaren looks very similar to 24, just because of the actual choice the McLaren team made with the livery. But now you've got the MasterCard there on the front wing. And I think the hits of blue do work for me, I think, especially on the onboard. From the onboard, it's more noticeable. The Red Bull's not changed at all, so not even going to bother looking at that. Aston Martin's changed actually quite a fair bit with the black on the side pod, so let's look at that. And also the number placement. I hope the number placement's actually present here. Is it going to be? Let's have a look. Oh, yes, it is. The number placement is a bit lower there. It's a little bit awkward here on this chassis. It doesn't work as well as the actual Aston Martin one, because the actual Aston Martin one is so flattened on the back of the engine cover. But no, that looks mean. Every single one of these liveries just looks a lot better suited because of the nose and also the side pod shape just being more aggressive now on the leading edge. and the gullies and just the general shape of it. I can't believe we've actually gone through this entire video yet. We've not even looked at the Ferrari yet. That'll be a big one. Actually, you know what? I've just noticed there's no Ferrari. Oh, wow. No Ferrari, huh? I didn't notice that. Ferrari. Wow, you've been scoundrels. You've not allowed us to preview your livery. Unbelievable stuff. That is a crime, Ferrari. That is an absolute crime. The Williams car. I must say, very, what's the word I'm looking for? Very intense gradient in the game here compared to real life, maybe, in a way. I mean, that's our little F1 Manager 25 DLC career mode, baby. In the EA game now. Let's look at the Haas. I want to look at the Haas. The Haas is very good this year. Lovely. Yep. No. Yep. Love it. Love it. Love it. Really good with that extra white on the nose. Yeah. For once, Haas actually did a really good change up on this year. And again, it just works with this new shape. You know what? They saved a good FOM chassis change for the year my team's coming in. It didn't really matter last year that it was a little bit ugly because you were mostly driving the real chassis in driver career mode. Although, to be fair, in the end, we did use the FOM one for the Red Bull season because the Red Bull chassis itself was so limited with the liveries. But now that we're going to be doing my team the whole year for F1 25, it just means we get a full reign of, you know, whatever we fancy in terms of the designs, and now we get this good shape to finally use as well. So already trying to think up of some cool liveries to do, and think of some cool future ideas we want to do in the series already. We've not even got the game yet, but just for the sake of showing you as well, just so no one kicks up a fuss, showing every single car available in this pack. The Alpine controversial, you know, people, including myself, feeling very, very ugly. And to be honest, it really doesn't work on this chassis. That BWT placement is gopping. That really is tragic. That's actually made that livery even worse for me somehow. What haven't we done? We're not going to do the Red Bull because the Red Bull literally is the same. Oh, I guess we're gonna end off with the neon green Terra. There it is in all its beauty. I mean, I say beauty. It does look better in game than IRL, because at least in game you've got the actual blended gradient of green to black, whereas in real life they've just done without it because of, you know, just I think practicalities of actually making that gradient work. And to be honest, again, this actually looks better looking than the IRL car, I think. On the IRL chassis, the FOM one actually does it more justice, I think. But there we have it then. That is the F1 2025 preview in F1 24. And not long now, guys, one day, and that deep dive will be dropping for my team and driver career mode. And we'll be getting some more insight into what F1 25 my team will look like. But till then, guys, hope you enjoyed the rest of your day. Goodbye.